You worked the 40, 50, maybe 60 hours a week. You did everything they told us to. So you check the bank account after rent, after the student loan payment, after groceries, and you watch the number go down. Not up, down. We are actively going backward every single month. Our parents, 9 to 5, got them a house and a future. Our 9 to 5 gets us an apartment we can't afford and a piece of the $1.7 trillion in student debt that shackles our entire generation. This isn't because we're lazy, it's because the game was rigged. While our wages have remained frozen for 40 years, the cost of a home has shot up 400%. The rules were changed right before we started playing, and the lie they sold us that hard work builds wealth was the setup for the trap. But knowing you're in a trap isn't the point. The point is understanding the hidden mechanism that built it, because what they did to our money is the real crime. And it's far more deliberate than you think. This didn't happen by accident. Our parents stepped into an economy that, for a brief moment, rewarded work. They could walk out of high school into a union job that bought a house. College was a cheap, optional upgrade, not a $100,000 entry fee to the middle class. That world was dismantled, piece by piece, starting long before we were born. The critical break happened in 1971, when the government severed the dollar's last link to gold, effectively giving itself a blank check to print money. That single decision turned inflation from a bug into a feature, a hidden tax that silently transfers wealth from our paychecks to the asset-rich class. The advice our parents give us, work hard, save money, is a ghost from that old world. It's a strategy for a game that ended 50 years ago, and following it today is like trying to navigate a new city with an ancient, crumbling map. With the foundation laid, they built the walls of our cage. The next move was to guarantee a captive audience. In 2005, a law was passed making private student loans nearly impossible to discharge in bankruptcy. Think about that. They took the one escape hatch that existed for every other form of consumer debt and welded it shut, specifically for our education. Why? Because an indebted generation is a compliant one. You can't demand a raise when you have a $400 monthly payment chained to your ankle for life. You can't quit a soul-crushing job. You can't start a business. You become the perfect, terrified employee. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. It needed a permanent debtor class to feed the machine, and they engineered us to be it, locking us into a cycle where our labor only ever pays for our own containment. Let's name the players in this rigged game, because every rigged game has winners. First, the universities, pulling in over $80 billion a year selling degrees as golden tickets, knowing full well the prices become disconnected from the value. Then, the lenders, the banks who gleefully package our futures into financial products, collecting guaranteed interest on the $1.7 trillion in student debt our generation was forced to take on. And finally, the corporations who get the ultimate prize, a workforce so crippled by debt they can't negotiate, can't quit, and can't afford to dream of starting something of their own. These aren't separate actors. They are partners in a grim, symbiotic ecosystem. The university needs the bank to make the sale, the bank needs the government to guarantee the loan, and the corporation reaps the benefit of a captured, compliant labor force. We are not their customers. We are their product. And on the other side, there's us, the graduates, the workers, the savers, the renters. We are the fuel for this engine. Our monthly debt payments are their recurring revenue. Our stagnant wages become their record profit margins. Our inability to buy homes keeps us locked in a rental market that enriches the very asset class we're blocked from joining. You're not losing because you're stupid. You're losing because no one taught you the real rules of the game. The fundamental conflict is this: their entire business model requires us to keep running on this treadmill, exchanging our time for a wage that is mathematically designed to be insufficient. What they fear most is us realizing that all the value we're creating isn't disappearing, it's just being siphoned away from us. And now, I'm going to show you exactly how they do it. The real genius of the trap is that its architecture is invisible. We were never taught how money actually works, and that's not an oversight, it's a design feature. They taught us compound interest as a magical tool for saving, never mentioning it's a devastating weapon when wielded against you in the form of student loans and credit card debt. They sold us the credit score as a badge of responsibility, a path to adulthood, but it's just a measure of our profitability to banks. To get a good score, you have to do the one thing that guarantees you stay in the game. Take on debt. You have to borrow to prove you're a reliable borrower. From the moment we enter the system, we are taught to build our own cages, believing we are laying the foundations for a house. This is how the game actually works. It turns our ambition against us, and while we're busy managing our debt, the larger extraction happens silently. Our paychecks are taxed at a higher rate than the capital gains of the acetoning class. That's not a loophole. It's the tax code working as intended, favoring wealth you own over wealth you earn. Then there's inflation, the ultimate ghost tax. While our stagnant wages by less each year, the value of the assets we can't afford stocks real estate balloons, transferring the value of our labor directly to their balance sheets. These aren't separate issues. They are interlocking gears in a single, efficient machine designed for one purpose: to ensure the value we create flows upward. You're running faster just to stay in the same place, and you feel like you're failing. You're not failing. The math was rigged against you from the start. Let me show you the math. They tell you a $56,000 salary is a good living. They say it's the reward for the degree and the hard work. Fine, let's do the math on that. Not with hypotheticals, with the real numbers, the ones hitting our bank accounts right now. Start with that $56,000. Before you see a dime, the government takes its cut. With federal and state taxes, we'll be generous and call it an average of 24%. That leaves you with $42,560 a year. Suddenly, your $56,000 salary is a $3,547 monthly paycheck. Now, let's apply that to the real world. The average national rent for a one-bedroom apartment is now $1,800. So, on day one, before you've eaten a meal or paid a bill, more than half, 50.7% of your entire take-home pay is gone just to keep a roof over your head. You're left with $1,747 to survive for a month. But the trap isn't just the rent, it's the chains they attach to us before we even started. That $1,747 is where the illusion of choice dies. Because now come the non-negotiables, that student loan you were told was good debt, that's a mandatory $400 payment every month. A constant drain that does nothing but enrich the lenders who own your future. You need a car to get to the job that pays for the car, so add another $600 for the payment and insurance. Now, you have to eat, which costs at least $400 a month. You need lights and internet, so that's another $250. And since your job's health insurance is a joke, you budget $200 for the deductibles and copays you know are coming. So let's add it up. $1,800 for rent, $400 for the loan, $600 for the car, $400 for food, $250 for utilities, $200 for health. That's a total of $3,650 in basic, non-negotiable monthly expenses. Your take-home pay was $3,547. You are now at negative $103 a month. Do you see it? This isn't about being bad with money. It's not about avocado toast. This is a mathematical certainty. You are working a full-time, college-educated job, doing everything right. And you are going backward every single month just to cover the bare minimum cost of existence. That negative $103 balance means you're living on credit card float, accumulating high-interest debt just to survive. Now, how do you save for a house? How do you put aside the $60,000 down payment they say you need? You don't. At this rate, you will not only never save a dollar, but you will sink $1,236 deeper into debt every year, even without a single emergency. The math doesn't lie. Saving for a future isn't just hard. It is mathematically impossible under the conditions they have engineered for us. This isn't a speed bump. This is the wall. And it was designed to be there from the very beginning. This is the breaking point. Not a dramatic crash, but a quiet calculation on a Tuesday night. It's the moment the numbers on a spreadsheet tell a story more brutal than any headline. You see the $103, and it's not just a deficit, it's a verdict. It's the mathematical proof that your best efforts will never be enough. It's the sound of a door slamming shut on the future you were promised. For our parents, their salary was a ladder. For us, it's the fuel for a treadmill that's constantly speeding up. And that negative number is the moment we realize we're not just failing to move forward. We are being actively, systematically pulled backward. This is the moment the lie that if you just budget better is exposed as the cruelest joke of all. You didn't fail the test. The test was designed to be unwinnable. The feeling that comes next is the most important one you will ever have about money. It's the flash of ice-cold rage that burns away the shame they wanted you to feel. The shame of checking your balance, the shame of using a credit card for groceries, the shame of admitting you're drowning while your parents were buying a house at your age. But when you see the math, that shame turns outward, it becomes clarity. You're not losing because you're stupid. You're losing because no one taught you the real rules. You realize that your financial anxiety isn't a personal failing, it is a manufactured condition. It is the intended result of a system that profits from your struggle. That isn't advice your parents gave you. That's a trap they unknowingly passed down. And then, you ask the final forbidden question, who benefits from this? Who profits from my $103 balance? Every dollar of interest on the credit card debt you use to survive is a dollar of revenue for a bank. Every late fee is a bonus for a lender. Your inability to save for a down payment keeps you paying ever-increasing rent to a landlord class that owns the assets you can't. Your desperation to keep your job, any job, suppresses wages for everyone and creates record profits for corporations. Your struggle is not a byproduct of the system, it is the product. The system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed, and that negative number in your bank account is the proof. It's the receipt for a transaction where your future was sold to the highest bidder. So, what does the next 5 years look like on this path? It looks like that negative $103 compounding into thousands of dollars of high-interest credit card debt used not for luxuries, but for survival. It looks like your landlord raising your rent by 8% while your boss gives you a 3% raise and calling you lucky to get it. Your bank account becomes a constant battle against zero. You live with a knot in your stomach because you know that a single car repair, a dental emergency, or an unexpected medical bill isn't an inconvenience, it's a financial death sentence. This isn't a temporary struggle. This is the new, permanent, a state of managed crisis where you spend every ounce of your energy just to keep from drowning while the current of inflation pulls you further out to sea. This is life on the edge of a cliff, where you're told to build a future while scrambling not to fall. Now, zoom out to 10 years. The window for the life our parents had doesn't just get smaller, it slams shut and shatters. That dream of home ownership, it's officially a spectator sport for us. We're priced out forever, destined to be permanent renters funding the retirement of the very generation that pulled the ladder up behind them. Major life decisions: getting married. Having children are no longer emotional choices but cold, financial calculations we can't afford to make. Your career becomes a cage. You can't quit the job you hate because you need the health insurance. You can't start a business because you have no capital and no safety net. You are trapped, your best years siphoned off by a corporation that sees you as a line item, all while you watch the milestones your parents took for granted dissolve into an impossible fantasy. And the end game, 30 years from now, it's working. Just still working. The concept of retirement becomes a cruel joke from a forgotten time. We will be the generation that works until it dies, with no assets, no wealth to pass on, locking our own children into the same cycle. The psychological toll is already here. The constant gnawing anxiety that 78% of our generation feels isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's the shame of feeling like a failure, the isolation of pretending you're okay when you're drowning, the quiet desperation of knowing you did everything right and it still wasn't enough. It's the slow-motion car crash of a life spent running on a treadmill that was designed only to extract your energy. This is not a personal failure. This is systematic extraction. So you see the game board now. Not just the piece you were told to move, but the whole setup. This is the moment you must unlearn every piece of financial wisdom they taught us. The idea that a salary is a reward is the first lie to burn. A salary isn't a reward. It's the price they pay to rent your time and dreams. The only way out is to change the game entirely, shifting your focus from earning to owning. Your salary will never make you wealthy. Only owning assets that work for you will. This means obsessively learning about the systems designed to exploit us, the tax code that favors capital over labor, the real definition of assets versus liabilities, and how inflation is used as a weapon against your savings. That's not advice. That's a trap. The real work isn't budgeting better, it's understanding the architecture of the cage so you can find the seams. This is hard. It was made hard on purpose, but now you see it, and you can't unsee it. The system isn't broken, it's working exactly as designed. That feeling of being perpetually behind isn't a personal failure. It is the intended output of the machine. But with this knowledge, you are no longer just a gear. You are a witness. You understand the rules of a game you were never meant to win. You are not a victim anymore. You are someone who is awake inside the simulation, and that is the one thing they cannot control. So you're left with a choice, the only one that matters now. Now that you see the trap for what it is, what's the bigger risk? Staying on the safe path that is mathematically guaranteed to leave you with nothing, or stepping off it to find your own way out? You see why your paycheck is a trap, but they have another tool to keep you paying them forever. Next, we expose how your credit score isn't a measure of responsibility. It's a measure of your profitability.